All right, let's move on to our two bad fate videos. So, I mean, we're gonna try our best to tell you guys what happened in them, what were the main arguments in them. But believe if you haven't seen it, a lot of you have probably seen it, but you haven't, believe us, it's kind of hard to say what was the main thesis. But actually, for the latest one, Sam, the one with
Uh,
go ahead.
I just wanted to give a disclaimer that everything, like the reason why we discuss the shows we discuss, every show we discuss, unless specifically mentioned like Young Turks, we actually like them and we think it's worth like who gives a shit about what's on Fox News, right? Or CNN. So that's why we discuss these shows, like, but it was so fun. Let's go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
these ones were fun and they weren't, especially one of them wasn't the word. Anyway, we'll talk about them. But Sam, so look, actually, Brianna, I took this extract from her own little description that she puts, right? So maybe this is what the argument was about. So the first one that we're talking about is that she posts a video with Batia Ungur Sargon, Batia, and she's a deputy opinion editor of Newsweek and author of a provocative new book titled Bad News: How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy. And then I have a
She
little
also
extract to read it to Sam. Yeah.
she also wrote for New York Times and was I believe, editor of Jewish Chronicles, which is the largest Jewish um, news outlets, one of the largest. Yeah, sorry.
No, the important information there. And then, yeah, so here's quote what Brianna had written in the little description section of the video. A self-described former woke, Batia is now skeptical of how left media culture that feels increasingly elite and distant from journalism working class roots. But while Brie and Batia agree on mainstream media's deficits, so here's the main disagreement apparently, they disagree on the extent to which wokeness itself is the problem. So this was the main thesis and argument, I guess, in the video as well. And some interesting ideas are exchanged in the video, but I mean, it's just,
I This one, no, I
yeah,
don't think
more
so.
the other one, perhaps, huh?
I don't think any. Yeah, I mean, it was the whole interview was Brianna like Greyjoy, Miss Joy, and then Miss like it was. I feel like I,
Man, they're so hard to cover these videos because
I,
I
I,
don't even know
I
what
don't
to say. That's
like.
what I was telling
That's the
you.
thing. Okay,
People are
yeah,
thinking we're
exactly.
here on to ramble when we're not. It's really hard to say what it was about and give a proper
No,
like
no,
thesis and
it was
break it
about.
down.
I mean, Miss Sargon or Sargon was arguing that the woke culture. Well, she's somebody who described herself as a leftist, specifically focusing on working class, so to speak. And she was saying that woke language is more alienating, and woke policies like and CRT or tweets by AOC, for example, referring to the fact that racism was a part of US immigration policy. That type of things are alienating the working class. And then Brianna was saying you're, I think, exaggerating, and the right does that as much, if not more so, than the left. So that was the main point of argument. But then again, whenever like Brianna was saying anything, then she would go say, no, I didn't mean that by that.
Yeah,
I meant it the other way. And in that context, like in the context that AOC was tweeting that, that was referring to that. And then Bjorn Joy Gray was saying that no, it wasn't referring to that. It was referring to this.
yeah.
And like when there is no agreement on it, that's why, by the way, that's why that's maybe I'm a boring person. That's why I like goddamn academic articles and I don't like magazine articles or newspaper articles, because there is a discussion that they are following up on. That's
Mm-hmm.
the whole point of literature review, right?
Yeah,
That there is existing
100%.
discussion and we are contributing to it based on these lines. And this felt just like, yeah, the whole interview and the whole, I mean, she seems like a very genuinely nice person and like a very pleasant lady, but it feels like she doesn't really have any substance to her thinking, and it's just like it felt very, I don't know, it felt very like first year, like freshman discussions,
That's
political
funny that you
discussions.
said that, because I have a few. I mean, okay, first, okay, let's try to like do the most general thing, and then I'll go into my small kind of point. One is that, well, this isn't really a point, but wow, Brianna really read her book. I mean, you could tell that she read her book
She had
properly,
notes
took
and
notes,
high.
so tried to have as much as good conversation. I think the first thing is, what did she mean by woke? And she did describe what she meant by wokeness. So she was like, yeah, it doesn't, when you say that like racism is bad, I don't mean that's wokeness. When you say that, defund the police, even, she said, I don't see that as wokeness. So what did she characterize as wokeness exactly? I mean, I didn't
She
write it
gave
down.
couple
Maybe.
of Yeah, she gave couple of examples like the one I mentioned, that
Mhm.
AOC regarding the immigration issue has tweeted that our immigration policy has always been founded on racism or something along those lines. 16, she talks about the fact that I haven't read her book, so maybe like I'm commenting on the interview.
Yeah.
So apologies if her book is
On half of the
filled with
interview too.
references. That's true. Yeah, it's partial. So yeah, apologies if her book is filled with references and stuff. But she talks about the 16. What's that? 16 something
A
project?
project, yeah. 1612
Yeah,
project or something, yeah.
yeah, the one that talks about the fact that U.S. history should be looked at as
Mhm.
when the racism sort of policies began and all that. And she's actually, again, that's the thing with her. She's very positive about the original article that won the Pulitzer, but she's very negative on other stuff. She says the article is very moving and it's very blah and it's blah, but but the discussions that came out of it are examples of wokeism. And by the way, some like that's the thing, like it's the typical bourgeois. That's why, again, she seems very well read. I've read her articles on Israel and Palestine. Very good writer. It just seems like very bourgeois, uh, just take on, you know what I mean, like
Although she would argue that she's trying not to be bourgeois, right? She's trying to
I
move
know,
away
but
from bourgeois
yeah, yeah,
takes.
I know, but it was like this, the idea that, yeah, oh, we shouldn't use the language that, uh,
And she
I
calls
don't like, of
everything that, I mean,
course.
it gets so small. I mean, like you did, yeah. I mean, there's like, okay, their disagreement is over, like her main argument is like something to do with wokeness and that it's damaging. But yeah, I mean, everything was just so like, I mean, yeah, the
Yeah, the whole
university
discussion
things.
is about, no, I'm not specifically
Yeah.
talking about what you're saying. I'm talking about this specific case. So that's why, by the way, in the end, I hate woke, I hate cancel culture, I hate all these words, because unless you talk about a specific case, it leads to this type of discussion that is just. One thing that came out of it that I really enjoyed was Miss Joy, Brianna Greyjoy, saying that she like this bullshit leftist sometimes and right wing sometimes narrative that some people like, there is like mining, what a good job it was,
Hmm.
going
Yeah.
down in the mines, having your lungs charred, or sweeping the streets and going through bins, and what, oh, the pride we drive for the work out of our hands. And she points out that she doesn't think, and I don't think anybody aspires or enjoys working with, let's say, feces,
Yeah.
or I don't know if I think
No,
if you
but
do
she,
enjoy
yeah.
working in a mine, in most cases it's a case of a Stockholm syndrome or something. I can't think of
Yeah.
oh, any moment it could explode and we all die. Oh, what a
Eh,
fantastic pride I get from this. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, she was kind
I
of
did enjoy
leaning
that.
into non-stop. She was kind of leaning into like how everything about university is bad. And she really made like a
Oh
caricature out
yeah, I
of
forgot about
everything with
all that.
university, right? any word or phrase, anything she didn't like, she would say that's kind of academic speaking or
Yeah,
something,
that's
although
true.
I don't really see it anything. And for her, every time the topic of university came out, she was like, not everybody wants to go become a philosopher. I mean, I don't know if she's been in a university recently, but nobody wants to become a philosopher. That's why their department has 3 people. There are a
About
lot
three
of
people,
other
yeah.
there's a lot of other
And
things you study
about
and
there
do
are
at university. So
yeah, it's so funny because my experience at university, I did humanities, and it was like humanities and social sciences. The department is about like 50 people. The students number about 40. Like, it's just
yeah.
ridiculous. And then you have like finance and engineering, which is like about like 6,000 like people
Yeah.
from all around the world. And yeah.
They're
And
conveniently left out of these arguments, I feel. Like the big bulk of people who are studying all these natural sciences, which are the main people at the
yeah,
university,
medicine.
they're kind of always left out of this conversation. And they make it, when it's a critique
Are
of
they? I don't
university,
know. I don't
look,
know
her
if they are
critiques
the
of
bulk.
university was all about that, because Brianna said, everybody should have access to free university and stuff. And then she's like, well, Brianna, not everybody wants to become a philosopher and a podcaster.
Mm,
I don't know who
no,
said that, or I mean, they don't even
no,
teach podcasting at university yet. So
I'm sure they do. No,
yeah, in a
I know
media
they
school,
do.
yeah, I'm
Media,
exaggerating a
but
bit.
but no. I don't know if they're. I agree 100% with you that they're always left out, but I don't know if they compromise the bulk of the university student. I don't know because I haven't looked at the numbers. If I had to guess, I would say for sure there was like I did
Especially
again
if you throw
humanities social.
economics and business with them too, which are, I know they're different,
That's
but there's a lot of people who study that stuff.
yeah, I definitely would say
No, my
business,
point is,
especially
so few people,
is with
philosophy get
engineering.
philosophy put it aside, right? There's literally a handful of people. And then if you take the other social sciences, they don't also constitute the whole body of the university. But
Psychology is like, I would say,
that's a
in my
bigger one,
experience,
yeah.
psychology tend to be the biggest one. But yeah, it was so fun. Like philosophy is literally like 6 people that are and everywhere. But yeah, in my
Yeah.
experience, but I don't know about the data. Did I would I don't know, but I would be interested into looking at how much of the engineering thought translates into people actually doing, actually putting
Pursuing those
like,
careers.
yeah, exactly. Like with medicine, it's usually almost 100%, I would imagine. But so yeah, it's
Yeah, and the
yeah, it
computer
was such a
sciences,
childish.
I mean, my whole point
Yeah,
is there's
computers. Yeah.
far more going on at universities than philosophy. And I
I
didn't put
mean,
this word in her mouth.
oh,
She's the one who used that example over and over again.
that's it. That's what I wanted to say. In social studies and humanities, there was literally like 5 reputable universities in the UK. Uh, I'm like looking at universities for my further education now. There's like 4 good ones in the Canada. You know what I mean? Like the idea that philosophy, like universities, is all. The one thing that maybe I'm wrong in US, from what I understand, in the first year or 2 years of your university, you have to do a lot of subjects that are not related to your topic.
You
Is that
typically
correct?
have electives. I mean, I'm talking in Canada about Canada. I'm sure the US
Canada
is
is more
similar,
similar to Canada,
maybe,
UK, it
but
seems.
I would assume, now some people who've attended American universities can correct us. I don't think that more than, let's say you do 5 classes per semester, I think you have to typically take, I would assume, one that's not necessarily directly related to your major, which
You
once
have
again, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I know that you shit on philosophy more than me. I'm not even shitting on philosophy. I mean, I think
no,
1 or 2 classes taken are not an issue. It's just this lady equated university with philosophy. And I'm like, if there are such university and schools that these people are talking about, sign me up. That's the
yeah,
first
me
thing.
too. To be honest, yeah. Let's get in there.
They're learning CRT from grade 1. No wonder I'm a failure here.
Yeah,
They're learning
genuinely, I
Harvard
would
law
put
stuff.
my nephew. Like from kindergarten, guys. Have you heard of manufacturing
Yeah.
concern.
I just caught my 5-year-old with Marx's 3 volumes of Das Kapital.
Yeah, with a rolling from his mouth, just going with a see right mills, the power elite under his leg. Yeah, but no, it's just I think. And by the way, I don't know. Like, I think this is. Sorry, do you have any more?
I wrote down the dignity of labor, but that goes back to the labor thing, and it's kind of hard because I don't want to sound because this topic is hard without what she was saying. But yeah, I mean, she kind of made it seem like nobody who like works any kind of labor work. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but they don't want their kids to do anything different. There was kind of that assumption in it too, and like everybody going to university is bad, and we don't think that people do like manual work or things with their hands or just. And then again, it just became such a caricature, right? She wasn't even talking about electricians and plumbers and all these people who also have to go to type of school. And everybody wrote in the comment section that when you say free university, it doesn't mean that free bachelors in social sciences for everyone. It just means all these different routes that you could take, they should all pretty much be more or less publicly
funded. I mean, when I mean public university, I mean sociology masters and anthropology bachelors for everyone. I want everybody to talk about the roots of historical roots of Protestantism, and all that. That's what I mean. That's just I don't need plumbers in my society.
Oh, and Sam, I wrote one more thing too. I wrote like she seems to be projecting a bit because she said this: people who go to college look down at others, and then she also says that if there's some really smart inner city kid, and I think she kept on saying Einstein, if there's like an Einstein in like inner city, go take him and put him to university. So I think she has she has like a.
She said put it in Harvard, and I love that because Brianna Joy Gray immediately said, well, I think Harvard should be abolished because Harvard is just such a bad school. Like, forget about all, like, look at some of the graduates, George Bush. Anyways, so Harvard is, I mean, Yale, of course, monsters that end up, again, ruling the world, and I don't know what they do. They're ruling elites. I don't know. They drink children's blood. I don't know, but they do really crazy shit, right? They go to Yale, but at least Yale is a good school. Harvard is not even a good school. It's just anyway. I goddamn hate Harvard, but a lot of projecting, and like her own weird idea of university, kind of. And this is getting into a stylistic thing. That's why I wanted to. Is this the end of our discussion about this video? I think? Or do you
the last thing I wrote is like she continuously conflated progressives and Democrats, which is something that is done often. So when they talk leftists, they mean everything from Hillary Clinton to Bernie Sanders to everyone, right? Brianna, Marxist, everybody. They just, which is really annoying for a serious conversation. But
yeah, anywhere from like Bill Clinton to Gaddafi. It's like, what? How? No, I know. But I mean, look, the only justification I can give for that is that, specifically in America, but everywhere else as well, it's just left is so weak, has always been so weak that it's been, so sometimes, a lot of times, combined with liberalism,
attached to
exactly. But it was just it was but
can I make a final point? I'm really sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I think this maybe I did, but I guess the overall issue was, maybe I even mentioned this, the fact that they didn't talk precisely. And this is a point that Brianna's other guests previously,
Thomas Chatterton, Thomas Chatterbox.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have his name. I'm not trying to butcher.
Barra Jr.
I should remember his name now. But one of the better interviews Brianna did recently, and she said that our problem is we don't talk precisely. And Brianna, and especially the guest here, really, it's her fault, I would say, took this to a whole new level. and just talking about anything.
Uh,
And the final funniest thing is when she just
uh,
threw in there that America was founded on ideas of America was founded on freedom. She just like threw that in there. Yeah, that's the last random list
uh,
of bullet points I have here.
no, no. One, I think that was what was the point you just said before the
Not
funny
talking
one?
precisely.
Oh yeah, I would say Brianna Greyjoy really attempted to get
Yeah.
pinpointed on preciseness of some definitions, but you can't when somebody. No, I agree with your example. I was referring to a different example by somebody. Ah,
Yeah.
so okay. Anyway, so what are you? So there is no wokeness. So you just have a couple of examples. That's what.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah. Oh, let me just my stylistic comment. I leave it for after we forgot to talk about the second interview. Like
Yeah.
not forgot, we haven't talked about the second interview. But I would say, Brianna tried that. And what was your second point?
America founded on ideas of freedom, and like she just like threw that. She's
Yeah,
like America is founded on freedom, and they don't
yes,
talk about it. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know what
That's
that
just such
means.
a stupid. Yeah, exactly. Like, by the way, again, I don't want to shit on any nation more so than US. Or like, I don't think any nation is better than any other.
Yeah.
Just better, good, bad. It's freedom. What are you, five? Like, which nation, which organization has ever been
Yeah.
founded on ideals of freedom? And I mean, okay, maybe that some or like just grow up. Like,
Yeah.
like yeah, in the 17th century when people were burning women because they were thinking they were witches and different skin color could have gotten you basically like chained like an animal to a wall. Yeah, they were thinking of ideals of freedom.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean, what
and
does your freedom mean? I mean, you don't even have to give such generous counter examples, really, to
yeah,
counter
and
a point.
again,
Yeah.
like yeah. By the way, at the time when like Protestants and Irish, where the hatred among them was probably like equal, if not like as bad as let's say between men and women. I don't know. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm not just saying it was all
Yeah.
racial
Yeah. Yeah.
prejudices or it's just what are you again, a child?
Yeah.
Like yeah,
Yeah.
George Washington, said this, you know, fought for our freedoms. Thomas Jefferson was an idealist.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
one of those buzzwords that are just thrown around nonstop in the US context. Other places people will laugh. Like, I mean, I don't even know, like freedom or
No
these kind.
man,
But in the
no.
US it's used so commonly. Like it's just so
Come on.
normal to say that. And then people can just
in
like brush their
France, in
shoulders.
France, they
True.
talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
De Gaulle. They talk
Yeah.
about De Gaulle the same way in US they talk about
Yeah, you're
Washington.
right.
In UK they talk about Churchill the same way they talk about Washington. Everybody's when
No, I
it comes to
stand
their own,
corrected. I stand
your
corrected.
your shit doesn't stink, isn't like that's the rule. In Iran they talk about Reza Shah as if he was like, you know, they were all goddamn losers, all of them. Russians, they talk about Stalin as if he like was this goddamn like man. Anyway,
No, I stand corrected. You're right.
no, yeah, it's just because we most of the content we
Yeah, yeah.
discuss is US. I kind of like to stand up, like, yeah.
No, no, you're totally right. No, the French one was a beautiful example. Although they're more specific, they'll probably be like, prior to this period, there wasn't that. But then we
Napoleon.
we included these kind of things of freedom in some words of liberté, égalité, and all that stuff. I think they have a
Fraternité.
better
Uh,
background story.
yeah,
It
I would
holds more than
say,
the American one.
yeah, I would say, I'm trying to think of Germans are the only ones who are not allowed. You're not allowed to be proud of your past. Okay, all right.
Yeah, they were officially
Just
told to
yeah.
shut the fuck up for a while at least.
This is officially sanctioned.
Yeah.
Even goddamn, I'm sorry, but Japanese man, like, have
Yeah.
you seen the statues of like basically the psychopaths who like killed like half of like population of Korea? It's just everybody's. So yeah, I don't want to like
No, you're
figure
totally.
like just single out the US, but it was her just founded on freedom. Fuck off. Just like like, yeah, my nephew, like, justice.
Yeah, but that was, yeah, I think people should go watch that though. It's kind of fun and entertaining. The next one had probably more to it. So Ben Jealous, which I think a lot of people know him quite a bit, and apparently he also ran for governor and he's on
I
TV.
had seen him.
I had seen him too,
something.
but I couldn't remember exactly.
CNN or something.
So
not
he
on
does
YouTube.
Yeah, he does a video, and really they talk a lot about, specifically race and African American in the US.
Wait, before we start, where are you from? where was your father conceived? At which time of the month? What was the position of the moon at the moment you were conceived? And the racial attitudes towards your family. No,
at the time.
What was it at the time? Because before we establish any of this, I don't know if we can have a frank discussion.
So if that didn't make any sense to any of you, what I think Sam is referring to is that they kind of start talking about race and how race isn't biological or anything like that, and he agrees, I think, and then he goes into his solution about how to overcome
wait,
racism towards Americans. Go ahead.
Wait, they spent 30 minutes before, by the way, after 30 minutes, Brianna says that, oh, by the way, before we get into
why
discussion,
did she do that?
Introduce you, because he doesn't allow her to introduce him, because there is a 30 minutes discussion about the place of birth of Brianna's mother, Brianna's father, his place of birth, their genetic roots that goes back to Madagascar or I don't know where. Like, he goes through all of that about Brianna and himself. It's just, geez.
To say what though? What was his main argument? What was his main argument based on that?
Oh, I think you get to that, so I'll.
Yeah, I mean, you were doing a good job. You rewatched it again because I didn't rewatch it since last week, so you seem to have it more fresh in your mind.
I watched it twice just because I couldn't goddamn get exactly what was the arguments, and I still don't know what are the arguments and what were the even points of disagreement in this one, because they seem to agree with each other,
they
but
agreed.
in tones that were very much in the the tone was disagreement, but the substance
they have a big disagreement over defund the police, which will come back.
Oh yes, you're right. About just about the slogan, not about the substance.
Yeah, and she kind of put him in his place, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
When it came to
that. I would say just the first 40 minutes of the whole interview was like, come here, tell me your grandma, where was she from? Just tell me, come, just give me some random answer. No, just give me some random answer. Where was your grandma from?
Baltimore.
Which part of Baltimore? Which part of Baltimore? South Baltimore? Which street in South? What is this going? Like for 30 minutes of, and then he has this whole argument about that people should embrace their historical ethnic ancestry because it places them, and I don't know.
And that will help people overcome racism, kind of, right?
I don't know if he definitely said, like, I don't know if he meant it by a structural racism, but he did say, he talks about the fact that I believe his wife or his sister or something is a psychotherapist, and it helps people to cope with a lot of emotional pain. And it could help with, at least at the individual level, I think, help with racism. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, his whole point was pretty much figuring out your ethnicity, right? Like that was his main. That was part of the main.
Your
argument.
ancestry, I would say. In a not in a like a racial biological sense, but
then he gave a bunch of examples for himself. That's why I got Baltimore. He's like, apparently his mom found out that
about the white
person
who was a patient of his wife again, I believe, that found out that he was Irish white, and that helped him to understand his issues better. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, and I just don't know how. Yeah, so I don't know what's the logical conclusion of this. I guess it's that when you find out, then links can be made between different groups, finding out that we both have the same ancestry or something. So I'm not sure what the logical conclusion of that argument is. I think something like that. Anyway, the main point, and then we can talk about whatever we want, is that he emphasized on. That's why Sam was asking me those weird questions. Is that his main point was like figuring out, learning a lot about your ancestors.
Well, what do you mean? What's weird about knowing the exact moon position when your grandparents first dated? That seems to me like yeah. No, I just think I do agree maybe that in a personal level, because I feel somewhat privileged in that I've known my family history very detailedly, and I've also known sort of my ethnic history somewhat in a detail. So, or national, ethnic, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe in any of this shit. So, and I don't have a very ethnic ethnic definition of my identity, which is like when you're Iranian, it's easy. I understand. It's like being a Roman.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you, right? That's what I was trying to
say
too.
I feel somewhat like I'm not like, I don't feel I can properly comment on his, like I can't completely dismiss it. To me, it sounds strange. I remember when I was very young, and my grandfather used to fill my brain with all this like bullshit about our family's glorious past, and I used to reiterate it to my father that, did you know, like our great grandmother, and then my dad went, did you know, if you go back enough, our family used to live in caves and probably be cannibals. And it does put you back somewhat that shit, he's right, isn't he? Like, you go back enough, we were all cavemen living and being cannibals. So I don't see much to be again, maybe though I have had this privilege, so I don't understand the lack of it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like a good faith interpretation of it is that his arguments really make sense to maybe within an African American context in the US. Because same thing as me, right? I don't even know my ancestors. Like in the sense that, I've never been like interested in like finding out
I
this
know,
or
but
that.
The records are there, let's say. But, I know. Okay.
But it's just like I can imagine they come from different places in like Iran or whatever you call Iran around here. So I mean, that's that. So maybe in like different contexts, if I knew a lot less and stuff, maybe it'd be more interesting in his context. So
actually, you make a great point, because I think in our both cases, the thing is the record is there. We can choose to have it or not. That's
exactly
the thing.
Okay, yeah, that's what you meant.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like
I can go ask my mom and grandma and stuff, and already kind of put in a good.
But to be fair,
together.
they said that they could do that too.
Yeah.
But it's
and I guess there's no race thing to overcome. So I guess his would be like, exactly. So if more people know, then they see that we're not so different. Or I don't.
And again, it's just from the background we are from. There was always a discrimination, but it was never racial or so ethnically driven. So,
and I don't think his arguments. I don't think for white Americans they make too much sense anyway. White Americans out there watching, they can correct me wrong, but many know if they have Italian background, of course. They know if they have Irish background, and they know if Scottish background or English or German and all that. A lot know that. So in their sense too, they kind of know it. Maybe they're not familiar with culture and all this, but they kind of know where they come from. Going further back than that, then okay, then I mean it becomes
Jesus Christ, Irish Americans, you can't, sorry, but you can't shut them up about the fact that they're Irish Americans.
Or Italian ones, I mean.
Oh yeah, Italian ones. Although Italian ones, I would say, are, because Italian ones are like more recent, but they are less Italian than Irish Americans are more Irish than Irish people. That is just you know what I mean. Like they exaggerate it. But I would say that I think though, as a political project, I completely disagree with it. I think yes, as a personal thing, it can give you comfort if you understand the ridiculousness of it. Because sometimes I take comfort in certain things and I feel cool about it, but I do always try to remember my father's cannibalistic analogy and just be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be proud of something you haven't done. You can be proud of it in a way that you appreciate it, that it's nice for me. But yeah, I think as a larger protocol project, it's not a really good strategy. It's just good for a personal like thing.
Yeah,
Maybe.
100%. Yeah, like, and which I think he would argue that no, I mean, he would argue like for, I mean, he's someone who believes in taking part in politics, right? He tried to run for governor and all this. So I'm assuming he guesses with that kind of mind frame.
And
He thinks
and
within
by the
that
way,
mind frame.
if I've always thought like if you're one of the white Africans from South Africa, or if you were like 2 generations ago, if you were a German, like if you constantly root yourself in your own ancestry, like some of like our near ancestry committed really, really awful crimes. And what, you're gonna have that lord over you? Because just like there is pride, and then
Yeah,
I think that could lead to
point.
backfire of, like just going, yeah, whatever, I'm proud of it. It was my ground. Like, I don't know. It's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, in that sense. Yeah. So I mean that was the main, and then there were a couple of small arguments we can get into. The Italian thing that you said is funny though, how like Italians in the US are not Italian at all, and it just reminds me of this episode in Sopranos where they go to Italy, and I mean one of them, oh, what's his name, Paulie. Uncle
Oh,
Paulie, he is so like he's so like disgusted by everything that goes on in Italy, right? They're having like dinner, and the food that he brings is like, what the hell is this? Bring me this or that, which is like a totally Italian American thing. So, and he can't wait to get back home. And then they show him in the car when he's back home, and he's just like looking out the window, like New Jersey, and like he's so happy, now he's back home actually from a short trip abroad where he thought he was going to where he's from, but he realized that he had
yeah.
like zero connections with that area. With the
It's all a
traditions there.
fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all it's to be fair though, besides Italian Americans, as you know, there is a large segment of Iranian community
Yeah.
that for some reason is in love with Italy. And I love the fact that whenever they go to Italy and they come back, they are so disgusted from the fact that they're like, it was so dirty, and the pizza, it was oval, it was not round, there was some fishy stuff. It's just the actual thing is so different from their expectations, and it's all a fantasy. So yeah, it's I would say the I don't know, with the Irish one, do you think, I think it's a bit closer because of the language. There is no language barrier. So maybe a bit more closer there, but it's still very different. Very different.
No, just the Italian one, a good example of soprano. So I felt comfortable leaning into leaning into that one. But yeah, another thing that they talked about was kind of defund the police. So I don't know how that came up, but he's like, he just suddenly said like defund the police. He dismissed it, defund the police, and then what? Nobody wants to talk about it. And Brianna's like, no, people have written about defund the police, that it's kind of, you demilitarize, you can say in a certain point, certain segments of it, and just switch the funding to a different kind of program. And she said people have written on it, and he was kind of like, and then what?
No, his argument was that it's a slogan that's a scare. By the way, he had this anti-intellectual pose that I mean, even in the beginning, to be fair to him, he didn't know the writing of Thomas Chatterton, but as soon as Brianna said there is this like author, he was like,
yeah. And who is he? Was he not sitting in a university though? I love when people, does he not work at a university?
Yeah, he's educated from Oxford, which is basically the UK seminary school. They still have to wear the goddamn funny hats when they go meet their tutor in Oxford and Cambridge. So yeah, I don't. And then he had this sort of anti-intellectual. Yeah, they call themselves abolitionists, but what have they abolished? I abolished law. And it's like, you do know, like, Marxists didn't actually East March. I don't know. Like, you don't have to do like it's anyway.
Yeah.
But I would say I hate defund the police
I was gonna
slogan. I think it's a
argue with that.
shitty. If I was a if I was a marketing guy, if I was the PR guy for a campaign, I would never go for defund the police.
But why?
In
It's
my
not. But why?
It's
Because at the
shitty
same
because it's
time, it's good
defund the
too.
police,
Because so
reform
it
the police.
resonates, it
No, it
resonates, and then
doesn't
you can
resonate.
say what. No, I mean, like people like remember it. Like, right, you say defund the police, like everybody kind of
Not in a good
remembered,
way.
because some people want like a long slogan. It's like defund the police and do this. I'm like, sorry, that's not like a slogan. So slogan has to be like short and quick.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gives a moment of entry into the
No,
conversation.
defund, in my view, when you say defund the police, and after it came out, I went, Googled it, and I found out, yes, academically, it means something else. But when you say defund, it means no more funding. And I don't think that's the problem. You're specifying, and at the same time, you're vague enough for a right wing to be able to. It's shitty. I think it's a very shitty slogan.
I don't think
in
it's
my
fully
view.
shitty, because I think it meets half of the requirements of a slogan, which is for it to be easy and catchy.
I don't think that's half. That's like 10%.
I think that's an important part of a slogan. But I see
But
other
if
people
they
write in commentary and comments or
it's like Black Lives
demilitarize,
Matter, by the way.
or
I think
like
that was a shittier
demilitarize the
slogan too.
police. I don't know. I mean, all slogans are going to be incomplete. They're never going to say exactly what you want. If not, you need like 5 or 6 words in there.
No, shitty is different from bad. Like sometimes it's not very cool. Okay, it's not very cool. Whatever. Who gives a shit? But sometimes it's counterproductive. I think Black Lives Matter, defund the police, gay pride, all of these are, in my view, counterproductive.
I think they might have counterproductive elements, but I think they also come with some. Yeah, I mean, I'm not married to this couple, to this slogan. But funnily, when I heard it for the first time, when I heard defund the police for the first time, and I've never read academic work on police, I, for some reason, understood where they were going with it, and I didn't find it to be a bad slogan.
The first time I heard about it, I found it scary. I found it anarchistically, and I meant like anarchist in a even best possible sense of way, where communities come together and set laws. Sure. And it came out of this whole Chaz. Was it Chaz? What was that? Like they set up a like it was bullshit, by the way, and right wing. They set up this self-ruling entity. They kicked the police out after George Floyd and stuff.
Oh, I'm not sure.
There was this area where like they tried to do, it was all bullshit, right wing blew it out of proportion. But it's just, again, I don't even care. It's just for me, this is like linguistic and semantic argument. But I do think these slogans don't help. But I don't think it matters, though. I don't think slogans matter. I don't think Nike is the highest selling shoe company because they have Just Do It.
No, not because
you know what I mean.
That, but I mean, when you get something going, I mean, I think some people emphasize the name too much, right? I've been part of projects where nothing has started yet, and they're having a debate left and right about the name.
Yeah,
okay,
Silicon Valley.
That's exaggerated a bit, but at the same time, I do see the value in having a quick short slogan that gets people's attention and provides like a point of entry. But then you're right, if a lot of people are completely misunderstanding it, then you should think of something else. I always understood it as kind of demilitarize and shift funding to different areas. Like the perfect example I've heard is kind of social services and stuff, some things, why police show up. Or I know in Switzerland there are cases where apparently I have to look into this better, but they actually did this in Switzerland, where they separated police who do parking checks and give parking tickets and kind of made this different one. So I kind of see defund the police as that way. They shifted it to a different kind of organization.
By the way, just to blow Iranian trumpet a bit, that's why, by the way, in Iran, while the Western media is always trying to say police in Iran is this force of suppression and oppression. In fact, you have two types of police in Iran, as you know. There is the type of like driving police,
Mhm.
rahnama, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't know, drive, yeah. And those police, everybody, like, you don't fear them. In fact, they might fear you a bit. And they are the nicest police officers. They're polite, and then you have the different police force that you rarely see, but when you do see,
Mhm.
yeah, you don't want to see. So you after that you don't see much. So it's just this, but yeah,
Yeah.
I would say, I, it's just, I agree with you in like general terms, but well, I disagree with you. I think slogans don't matter at all, but okay, in a way that they matter, yeah, change them in my view when you see they are being used negatively. But it's just, I don't
And yeah.
even think electoral politics, or because that seems to be the whole project that, with all due respect, Miss Greyjoy is pursuing, this idea of communicating and bringing people together. I don't think any of that is gonna ever happen, or is even good if it happens. So I don't care. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't think it's a good slogan, but I don't care. Like, I don't think it, even if you had a good slogan, it wouldn't have mattered one bit. So
Oh, I think this is like a perfect segue to Kyle's video against
oh yeah, that's yeah,
against
yeah, exactly.
doomerism.
No,
I mean, the
no,
last
wait.
thing I want to
No,
say
no,
about
no.
slogans, though, is that
Before,
sometimes,
go ahead.
yeah, sometimes you
Sorry.
can't be at the mercy of the other side, because of course, even if you have the world's greatest slogan, the other side is always going to try, whoever the other side is, the opposition will always try to like put holes in it and say why it's good and bad. So you also have to stand up, behind what you're saying at a certain point.
Yes, and again, it doesn't matter. Slogans, none of this matter. The only thing matters are organizations and leverage. That's it.